Lieutenant Freeman ordered the machine gun to be brought into action, but it fired only a few rounds and then it jammed. Without warning, the column came under heavy gunfire from 800 rebels who were dug in concealed positions in the trees and buffalo grass in the higher ground on both sides of the track. There were also snipers in the trees who had orders to shoot at the officers. Lieutenant Angel Freeman, who had hoped for glory and promotion, fell immediately with a bullet through the heart. The attack was brilliantly planned and executed. The only way to escape was for the Allies to fight their way forward, back to the coast. The second in command, Lieutenant Lansdale, desperately tried to clear the machine gun, but he too was brought down, with his right leg shattered by a bullet. Besides the 2 lieutenants who had been hit, 6 other seamen and marines had been killed already, and there were others wounded. US Ensign Monaghan tried to form the surviving seamen and marines into a defensive perimeter, but they were exposed to the deadly gunfire from the trees and had to crouch to find whatever shelter they could. Here and there, groups of rebels made charges to cut off isolated seamen who were still strung out along the long stretch of flat road. It was clear that they would have to move quickly or they would be massacred. The ensign ordered a bugler to sound the retreat back to the beach. Ensign Monaghan elected to stay and help Lieutenant Lansdale, who could not walk with his shattered leg. Survivors heard the lieutenant ordering the ensign to retreat with the others, but Monaghan stayed with his senior officer. He picked off approaching rebels with his revolver, but they were both surrounded and killed. 2 surviving Marine NCOs, Sergeants McNally and Forster, rallied some men to try to charge at the surrounding enemy, but there were too many men wounded. Reluctantly, the sergeants ordered those survivors who could walk and fight to make a staged withdrawal along whatever tracks that they could find leading back to the beach. The British cruisers had got word of the ambush and were able to target the Tagali area with their guns. They laid down heavy fire. The barrage dispersed the attackers and many of them withdrew into the bush, allowing Allied survivors to crawl and stagger back to the coast. The naval gunfire kept the rebels at bay, and Mataafa's men all withdrew as night approached. 1/3 of the Allied force had been killed or wounded in the battle. There was another battle in another war, not so well known, when a British-American force of more than 300 men was defeated by 800 warriors. With their officers killed or wounded, the survivors barely saved themselves by a fighting retreat. 2 sergeants kept order and prevented a rout becoming a slaughter. Those sergeants and 2 others were awarded Medals of Honor, the highest US award for bravery, the equivalent of Britain's Victoria Cross. What battle was it? It was the Battle of Tagali. It took place in Samoa on the afternoon of April 1, 1899.